have we witnessed the beginning of the end. A total bring a trailer price meltdown. Today is the first day that this bid nerd has seen, as a bid nerd, more failures to sell than sales on reserve listings. That's right. You heard it here first. We're going to analyze the numbers. My partner, Michael Deeb in San Francisco, as well as third nerd, Mauricio from Three Pedal Posse in Seattle, will join us. The bidding starts now. Nerd! Bid Nerds is your daily YouTube card game show, where we predict the online auction results of the most interesting cars on Bring a Trailer, Cars and Bids, Hagerty Marketplace, and more. It's just like the Price is Right game show. Play along and see if you can beat the nerds. Yep, that means it is time for a brand new episode of Bid Nerds. It's a live show. We're doing it live. We're in Las Vegas where it's raining. The Super Bowl is here. But really, we know everyone is in Las Vegas for Bid Nerds. The Clydesdales horses were right outside the window here last night. They came down to visit us. I guess there's something about a football game going on too, but we're pretty sure it was us. But more exciting than my partner Michael Deeb in San Francisco hanging out is third nerd guest host today. We have Mauricio, our good friend from Three Pedal Posse. How you doing, Mauricio? What's up?
Oh snap! It's Mauricio.
Damn! Look at that guy.
It's an honor to be on the nerd posse. Dare nerd posse.
It's an ecosystem. Yes. It is an ecosystem. That's what we like to call it, right?
I was just thinking about this the other day. I think JP and I are coming up on our 10-year anniversary.
Oh my gosh! Wow.
Oh my God! Is that a leather anniversary? What do you guys do for that? Like,
yeah, something like that.
I mean, there's some slapping some chaps. I think whatever. We'll come up with something good.
Maybe you guys can play football.
We are trying to get the Love Store to be a sponsor. Shout out to our friend Ed Wheeler over there. Come on, man, Ed. Let's go, dude. Yeah. We have all kinds of space on all the shelves for adult products for days, man. Rami, I think that is his best performance ever, though, is Rami's guest star on the Love Store commercial. Yeah.
What about, we've got usually do an hour and a half show. I mean, we've got room to plug in a lubricant, don't we?
Why not? Let's just, it's already starting. All right, you guys, if you're brand new to the Nerd Show, welcome. The Nerd Herd is busy in the chat already. Mauricio, have you been seeing how big our live chat group is getting when we do this live? It's insane, dude.
Absolutely.
We have some.
I'm glued to my phone every time you guys are on. I don't care what I'm doing.
I mean, I swear to God, the Spud Syndicate up there in Idaho, these guys get together. They got the big rivalry with the New Orleans scene. I mean, dude, if these two posses get together, it's a rumble. It's a nerd off, man. It's a nerd off. I am scared to see what would happen there. But we love you guys in the Nerd Herd. You guys are all joining in. Kevin, Ross, Church. Mauricio, Ross is on the other side of the country and he watches every single show. Where are you at? Every single show. The planet. Yeah, the planet. What am I saying?
Other side of the planet. Yeah.
Looks like Buddha's hanging out. Randy B's already in here. I'm sure Anthony will be. I don't know, where's Anthony yet? Gerd's already hanging out. Hey, Andy, what's up? Andy Stahl's hanging out.
Carbine? I was chatting with Carbine earlier. I think he should be on.
Yeah,
what's
I
up,
texted
Chris?
him a second ago. He saw he liked the thumbnail, our doom and gloom thumbnail. But
Chris Carbine made a soft pass at me earlier and wants to know when he's going to be invited on the show. I was trying to check in to see if Zach was available to join us as a last minute guest tonight because I did not know that you had lined up Mauricio. And I was doing that on a group chat with Chris Carbine, and Chris says to Zach, well, at least they ask you. And I was like, I got busted. So I think Carbine wants to be a guest nerd one of these days. We'll get you on, Chris.
Well, I think that's the thing.
I feeling you guys have a line out the door.
I'm sure.
Right? Around the corner a couple times.
We gotta do like That would be a
around the love
great
store.
Yahtzee reward, right? You know, get a Yahtzee and come on as a third nerd or something like that, because it's getting to the point where, but yeah, no, it's awesome. Let's do something like that. We love the Nerd Herd. Looks like everyone's joining in. We're just kind of stalling for time to let everybody come on in. But Mauricio, the Three Pedal Posse, real quickly, can you tell the Nerd Herd that may not be familiar with the Three Pedal Posse what that is?
What's the Three Pedal Posse? That's a good question, right?
Today on this show, not on some other show.
And why did you do it?
You know, so it all started, and I think JP was sort of around. Actually, JP was around when this happened. You know, there was a group of us that just felt like there wasn't a community in which you could just be who you were, show up, have fun, whether you drove a Porsche or not. Really not have it be about the cars. I know a lot of people say that, but for us, it really has been that. There's no formal structure to it. There's no requirements as far as, you know, you have to have a certain type of car or anything. But it was really about getting together, wrenching, going for drives, enjoying our cars, sharing some good meals, some good laughs. And it really sort of birthed out of a couple trips down to Monterey way back in 2010 with couple folks up in San Francisco like Shaddy and John Larner, and then also Ben, the professor, and then JP. I think you kind of folded in there a few years ago.
Yeah, that's how I kind of met all you guys. It was just kind of happenstance, really.
Yeah, you know, we 3PP kind of birthed out of the fact that we felt that a lot of the automotive community was very fragmented, and we just didn't want to do that. I mean, we got two rules, right? Number one is don't be an asshole. Number two is just check your ego at the door. That's it.
Somehow they let me in. I don't know what's going on.
I was going to say, how did JP get in?
JP get past all that?
We do Sunday Cars and Coffee in Seattle. We do a couple drives down to Monterey every year. We usually go to Luft. We go to Palm Springs. JP, you did Palm Springs one year. I think 2 years, maybe.
Yeah, I do. The first year,
so
right?
It's really jumping in the car, having fun, getting together, and, you know.
Well, that Palm Springs run that you guys did may really be the beginning of Bid Nerds, Mauricio. You may not realize it, but you remember one of your friends at the time, Danny had his 964 that he had built.
Yeah.
And he was and he sold that car on BAT. This was, 18 or 19, I think, something like that. It was before things were berserk.
Yeah. And actually, no, I think it might have been 16 or 17.
Yeah, it wasn't that early.
He built.
It was definitely definitely 8. Well, whatever. Point is it was way before things were crazy like they are now, and as crazy as they got. And at the time, you guys actually just with your phones filmed the live auction close of his wide body 964 build, and I think it sold for like $60,000 or something like that, which at the time was bonkers, or $80,000.
It sold for $82,000.
Right.
And I think
that was the Martini car, right?
Yeah. That was a Martini car. And
beautiful car.
Beautiful car, wide body, really solid car, but I think everybody was just in complete shock that could have happened. And it was you're right. I mean, it was early on, but it was also early on with BAT really sort of focusing, you know, on a market that really didn't have that much of an audience, which was a dedicated Porsche auction market. So.
Well, but it's not a dedicated Porsche auction. I mean, it's just there's a lot of Porsche people.
Back then,
I
think it was primarily that. You know, I think a lot of the cars that they had early on were sort of a catch-all, but I would argue that it was sort of Porsche that really kind of brought them up to the exposure that they had. Because a lot of those cars, they picked up a lot of cars that were going up in value at the time from popularity as far as who was building them, what the cars were, and it was really in alignment with what was happening in the Porsche market overall.
Well, in the 964, go ahead.
Prior to the proliferation of Bring a Trailer, there used to be 1,200 to 1,600 Porsches listed on Hemmings classifieds at all times. And I really do believe Hemmings was a place to trade an old Porsche, not a contemporary car. But since BAT took off and your buddy was in at the beginning, like on the first swell to bring you all the way to shore, since BAT took off, now you can't find 600 Porsches listed on Hemmings classifieds. All those cars are selling in real time in the live auction space, and they have completely transformed the market in the United States. And now there's other piggyback auctions around the world that are doing the same thing, like Classic Car is doing in the UK, selling cars and watches. So it's your guy was an early adopter, and was one of those first people to have a eyebrow raising result, because we learned everybody was watching.
Yeah, and I think in part, and JP, you and I were talking about this a little bit earlier, was Porsche guys are a unique breed in that they like cars that have been driven. They like cars that are being used. They drive their cars. What was that thing that Jay Leno said? Every time I drive a Porsche, the Porsche guys don't let the valet park their car because they're the ones that like to park it, right? But having high miles on a Porsche is bragging rights, and I think bring a trailer to a certain degree. Going back to what you said, brought an audience to a platform where the true sort of enthusiasts could really communicate with one another through the live forums, right? Saying, hey, this car's been used, it's been active, it's this, that, and the other. Whereas you didn't see that in Hemmings, you didn't see that, Craigslist or some of the Porsche dedicated forums. This was an opportunity to really sort of gauge the existence, the lifespan of that car.
Well, and I feel like that particular 964 was right at that time when Bring a Trailer went from a platform where you found a deal on a car to the platform where you found the car that you want, and consequently you're going to pay a premium for it. It's been the same ever since. Now, here's the thing. The topic, that I teased at the beginning of the show before we get to reconciliations on the cars that we made predictions on the last episode, I just wanted to crunch some numbers. I said something at the beginning of the show, and I kind of rushed over it. So there were somewhere around 107 cars listed today, which is pretty average for Bring a Trailer. This isn't Cars and Bids. This isn't PCAR Market. I didn't analyze that. Just paying close attention to Bring a Trailer. Somewhere around 107 cars. The vast majority of the cars I wouldn't say vast majority, but the actual majority of the cars sold no reserve. So about 57 of those were listed with no reserve. So no matter what, those cars were going to sell. So out of 107, you take away that 57, and you guys can check my math, and somebody else can go on there and start, counting everything up. But I counted, of the cars that did have a reserve, there were 24 sales. And one of the cars that we'll go over that we made a prediction on the last episode, boy, was that one hell of a steal. This is the first time I think I've seen in a long time where maybe Bring a Trailer is going back to the platform where you can get a deal on the car that you want, because there were 24 cars with reserves that sold and 25 that did not. So it was right there neck and neck. And maybe I did my math wrong. Maybe it was one more or one less. But when I did the quick numbers there was actually one more failed to sell than there was sold. So I've never seen that before. It's almost always like 10 to 13% fail to sell. And what we've been seeing that when cars fail to sell, it's usually weird stuff and, people with really peculiar, just out of or just not realistic reserves. But in this case today, I think some things are maybe changing. So that being said, let's get to the reconciliations. But before we do that, we want to give a shout out to our good friends at Godden Porsche and Godden Classic of Las Vegas. They're huge supporters of the show. We love them. And if you're looking for parts for your classic Porsche or a classic Porsche, or you just want to talk and hang out with classic Porsche people, go down to Godden Classic and hang out. They always love hearing from the nerd herd. And if you want to know what time it is, if you're like, man, how do I make sure I watch Bid Nerds and make sure I catch it live? Make sure your fine Swiss watch is in fine Swiss working condition, right?
JP, couldn't Mauricio literally drive his watch to Hoursmiths? Like, isn't that drivable?
He could just drive over to Idaho and get his fine Swiss watch serviced.
Hop
with
on
our
a
good
skip?
friends. Yep, at Hoursmiths.
Just a big gulp away. Is that right? Like, I'm so jealous.
Well, look here. Anthony just hopped in. He says, "Hey, boys, sorry I'm late." Anthony, we know your watches work. That's Anthony from Our Smiths. Welcome, Anthony, for joining the show. Okay, so we made some predictions last week, or not last week, but on the last episode. I was hopped up on NyQuil, and I may have had some Adderall and a bunch of other stuff. A lot of drugs is my point. But the first car we made a prediction on was a pretty special car. Deeb, you want to talk about the 94 911?
Yes. So Chef, our good friend Chef from Red Rock Country Club, one of actually the founder of the Las Vegas Auto Fest, submitted for us to review the 1994 Porsche 911 Turbo S. This was an S package car on Bring a Trailer. It was being listed by a very reputable Bring a Trailer seller called Wob out of Thousand Oaks, California. This car is one of 17 packages with the turbo bodywork and the S package. It's a 3.6. This car is making like 385 horsepower and almost 400 pound-foot of torque. I mean, this thing is really, really special. The car had only 14,000 miles. But JP, as you and I kind of looked through it, we found a couple of little blemishes that we were understandably concerned about. Like if you're bringing a car to market and you're looking to get, essentially $1 million or more by enlisting the help of one of the best sellers on BAT in Southern California, and you know that your car is one of 17 really special high performance cars that were, essentially never offered for sale, but Porsche would have gone to their dealer network and selected their most VIP clients and offered them an opportunity to buy a car like this. Wouldn't you make sure that if you took the odometer out, you would put it in and make sure that was checked, that it was level, and that if you had like the parking damage in your front smiley face in the lower grille of your 964, you would take it to a body shop so they could heat it up real simple like and make it straight and look really, really good. So we questioned a few things, and then we wondered what would happen based on the result. So Mauricio, based on what I told you, 911 Turbo 3.6 S package. It's not a flat nose, but it is an S. It's an X88 Turbo S power kit that goes up to 385 horsepower, which is like a plus 40 over the stock 3.6 turbo. One of 17, and it's only got 14,000 miles on it, and it's on BAT. So Mauricio, I'll give you me and JP's bids, and then I'll ask you for a bid before we give the result. I said $900,964, and I said maybe if this car had just a couple of less miles, in other words, if it was under 10,000 miles and we couldn't pick it apart in the photos, this car would have a chance to go over $1 million. JP came in way under me and said $800,964. So based on what little you know, Mauricio, what would you venture a guess on this very special Porsche?
I would say, the market is so inconsistent right now.
Mm-hmm. That's fair.
I would say that's easily $1 million car, but I would probably put it at 860, 865.
865. That's a good guess because you're leaning more towards me than JP. So yeah. John, let me start by saying our car got 47 bids. There were people on this car. The hammer fell at $990,000.
Wow.
Where it failed to sell. So BAT agreed to a reserve that was arguably well over $1 million, and they couldn't sell this car. I'm telling you, JP, in real time, at $990,000, they should have taken the money. This is an election year. It's still a soft market. I know the top of the top stuff sells, but your car's got 14,000 miles. It's been driven. You took shitty photos because they were so honest. They showed some flaws. You're not going to earn $1 million. And by not taking the 990, I don't know how you bring this car back to market anytime this summer. Maybe in the fall or winter you could bring it back to market. But I think if you bring it back too soon, you're your own worst comparable result, and you're going to hold yourself back. So I think this guy has done himself a disservice. And, chances are if you own $1 million car, you really don't need the money. But, you were trying to sell it in the dead of winter and you didn't bring it to a live auction. I think you should have taken that money. Mauricio, what do you think based on my argument?
I agree with you. I think $990 is a good price for that car. And, the interesting thing about that era of Porsche, beginning with the 964, is the difference between a regular C2 and the highest of the highest end 964s are minimal if you really think about it, right? From off the shelf parts. So fixing the smile, it's not going to cost you what it would cost for $1 million car, right? It would cost you what it would cost for a $60,000 car. And sure, I know 964s are going between 120 and 160, but the parts are still sort of in that C2 range, right, for cost. So I think to have prepped the car would have been a very, very minimal expense. The market's just weird right now. I don't think it's fair to say that the market has flattened or leveled off. I think it just depends on the car and it depends on the buyer. I think under normal circumstances, I agree with you. That would have been easily 1.1, maybe 1.2 million. It's a very unique car. There's not that many of them. On top of that, there's not a lot of buyers for that car. So at $990, I think I would have taken that price, given the current market conditions.
Man, I mean, it's just an unforced error when having a crooked, and I know I said this on the front end of this conversation on the last episode, but having a crooked odometer is just not okay. When you're talking about $1 million car, Mauricio, you and I have a very good mutual friend, Kelly Smith. He has that Smurf Blue 993, and I remember when he got that car more than a decade ago, he went to one of those auto salons there in your neck, the Metropolitan. I don't know if they're still around, but he paid them like literally $5,000 to detail that car. Like they took all the parts off. They took the wing off. They took the lids, all the door trims, all the rubber. They got in every nook and cranny of that car and cleaned the daylights out of it. I mean, $5,000 back in, we're talking, 2011 maybe? Something like that. So that was a blue 993, and back then that car was maybe worth $50,000. Like on the best day, 993s were pretty much $30,000 cars, right? So he went and spent all this. I remember going, "You did what? You just to clean it? That wasn't for paint? You just, holy crap!"
That car must have been filthy.
And that's the thing. Kelly, as well as I do. Yeah. It was immaculate. There wasn't a speck of dirt on that thing. Yeah. It's like,
he wouldn't have bought it if it was filthy.
It's like,
so, but that's my point is, and Randy B says, hey, that car is on its way to Kelly Moss right now. He just, have you seen, I don't want to go on that whole story. But anyways, my point is that you sell $1 million car, not only do you fix the smiley, but you clean the inside of the grooves on every last, there shouldn't be a speck of, and you drop $10,000, $15,000, $20,000. Easily, at least 5 figures on detailing, on photographs, on everything.
But the thing is, I'm going to disagree with you a little bit there. It doesn't take $15,000, $20,000 to get that car to look great.
Right.
It does if you're this guy who apparently doesn't know, because he's not going to do it.
Yeah.
He has no idea. Yes, the 3 people on this panel all know how to get that done for a few $1,000s, right? But that jerk that has $1 million car that goes and puts it for sale with a crooked goddamn odometer needs someone to pay $15,000 or $20,000 because it cost him 6 figures not to. So yeah, I know, I'm totally with you, but this guy's an idiot, and he left tons of money on the table, and now he's that $1 million car is just going to
be. He's got a firm grip on the car. I think he's going to struggle to sell it over the next 6 months, and he's going to have to wait, in my opinion, a year to get a retail number above his fail to sell at $990. He should have taken the money.
Hold on. I'm downloading a Level app.
Yeah, but I guess the big
I found one for free. Look, all he had to do was just here. Okay, the odometer is now leveled. Dipshit.
Do you think he maybe isn't that eager to sell the car?
I mean, maybe it was one of those deals where he was trying to tell his wife that he wanted.
He brought it to this guy Wub, which is probably going to charge him like 10%.
Yeah, that's what he charges.
So, all right, what do you guys think of the results of this Porsche 964 Turbo S that failed to sell at $990,000? Did this guy miss the boat? Is he going to be sleeping in this thing? Or is he better off to wait for shinier days and smoother sailing? Maybe this spring or summer, and make some more money? Let us know in the comments below. And let's move on to the next car, Michael Deeb.
All right, JP, this one, oh boy.
This is the shocker, and this one was today.
I'm getting a little choked up already. JP, you and I looked lovingly at our computer screens as we perused the images of this incredible build. This is a 1977 Porsche 911S rally car tribute that was built with the bodywork to become a 959. This is a wonderful car, a 77 mid-year 959 bodywork with a replacement 3.2 liter flat six, beautiful 16-inch braid alloy wheels. It's got all the accoutrement on the roof, the lights and the the rally lights, the brake lights, and things like that, so that you can see it in the smoke. It's got sliding side windows and mud flaps, full roll cage, and fixed back seats. This is an excellent build, in my opinion. And when you look at it, and if you're an enthusiast, a real air-cooled enthusiast, you can see how much money would be poured into a build like this. Even if they did it 20 years ago, a lot of money was spent on this car. But the idea of taking a 77 today and writing a blank check to replicate what this car would cost, I would say with the bodywork, the paint, the motor, and Safari suspension, windows, wheels, tires, go on and on and on and on, you'd be easily over $200,000. So Maurizio, they're showing 149,000 miles, true mileage unknown. This car has no Carfax because it predates the 1981 17-digit VINs. It's a replacement 3.2, and it's got an incredible livery and body kit that I think was done to a relatively high standard. Our car was running by the same seller, Wub, at 1,000 Oaks, at no reserve. So our car was only at like 60 grand when we were covering it, Mauricio, and this was just a couple of days ago. The car closed today. So at 60 grand with 2 days to close, I said $150,000. JP just took the over because I think I stole his bid. So JP gave us the bid of $150,959, which is really just taking all of the space above my bid. Mauricio, if you did not look at the result, or even if you did when you first saw this car, what do you think this car? Yeah, what do you think this car would sell for? No reserve with a 3.2 on BAT.
I'll tell you my number, and then I'll tell you why later.
Okay.
I think it probably sold around 80.
No way.
85. Yeah.
Okay, so our car sold on just 15 bids for $82,959. Mauricio, go ahead. You start. Why did you guess it right? Because I really thought.
I looked at the car, I looked at the pictures, I didn't read the description or anything. The only thing that I would say is if you're going to build a tribute car from that era, why not start with a donor from that era? Because
like an 80s donor?
The minute you start to kind of dig into it, as you know, a lot of people say, 74 to 89, same car. Totally different, right? Mid-years are different than SCs, which are different than, Carreras. And even within those eras, there's little differences. And for me, it's like, why not start with, a mid to high 80s Carrera to do the car? Because then it's a little bit more in that era. And I think the fact that car was a mid-year, it was a 77, correct?
Right.
I think that hurt it, because then you get into these cars where they're like, why didn't you start here? And there's stuff on it that's not quite right. And sure, I don't know to what extent they built the car, if they took it down to the bare, shell and then went up from there. But I think that's probably what hurt it. I think if the donor car would have been, even an early Carrera in 83 or 84, it probably would have done better. That's just
Wow.
my thought. It's like Singer,
that-
right? Singer, the first couple
yeah.
Singers were Carreras, right?
G-bodies. Yeah, G-bodies.
Yeah, they were
but then they moved to
G-bodies. And then they
964s.
said,
Yeah.
go to the 964 because it's just better. It's a better platform to do what you want to do. That's sort of the argument that I have with it here.
Okay,
is
let me
a
ask you
beautiful
if
this
that's
car.
because
the
I would have
case-
thought
Go ahead, Deeb.
I would have
And
thought
I'll
the
say
donor
one
car
other
wouldn't.
thing.
Yeah, go ahead.
One last thing. I would have not taken studio shots of that car.
Mm-hmm.
I would have taken dirt shots of that car out where that car lives in its own environment.
Well, they did.
Your mate-
There
Did
are
they?
more
Oh, all
photos.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's too
So my
clean,
question
though.
is, I
But
would have
it's too
thought the donor
clean.
car, I would have thought the donor car wouldn't have mattered. But let me ask you this, because you're someone who's built a car or two, a Porsche or two, to make something that you wanted to see from your imagination to real life.
Yeah.
When you look at a car like this, just a couple of glances at something like that, even with an inexpensive donor car like the 77, what would you think it would cost to replicate that
Oh,
today? Even if you used a salvage 84 Carrera,
That
which costs
car would
nothing.
have- that car would have easily cost, close to, if not just a little bit more than 200 grand.
Yeah.
I mean, if you really think about the build quality of the car, the motor, the suspension, the body
Roll
kit,
cage.
all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
It's not cheap to build these cars, and I think that's something
No.
that a lot of folks don't understand. It's like when you keep in mind, you're still using a lot of Porsche parts. Porsche parts are
Yep.
expensive, right?
That's right.
You
And
know,
they're getting more
the-
expensive by the minute.
Yeah, the wraps, the aftermarket wheels, the tires, that's cheap. But all the other stuff, that 3.6 motor, you're using Porsche parts. They're not cheap.
To
JP,
the
is
se-
that
to-
tequila or creme de mint?
I hate tequila. It's a little Don Julio here. And I hate tequila, but for the seller of this car, bro,
Yeah.
that's for you. I feel so bad for you. And if Mauricio, and if you're right about the fact that it's not that they didn't start with a Carrera and they use a mid-year and that's why it went, then that just proves once again that Porsche buyers are effing stupid people.
Right.
I mean, you were a fucking moron if you're like, oh, I'm not buying this car because it didn't start with an 84, which is what the. I mean,
Yeah.
Mauricio, you had one of the most beautiful 912 builds of all time. You put a
That
6 in
livery
it,
was
right?
sick. Yeah.
And that car should have been that should have been $150,000 to $200,000 car, like all day. It was one of the just cleanest, perfect build.
But it was a 912.
But it said 912 on it. Who gives
I
a
even-
shit?
I even picked the right year. But no, I mean, but I agree with you. I think
God, I hate Porsche people sometimes.
Porsche
I mean, I'm
people
mad
are-
right now.
yeah,
I was
they're
upset
not a
too,
bunch.
yeah.
Sometimes they're short-minded because I agree with you. That car, at the price it sold, that car was, you stole that car, right?
Yeah.
That car probably cost close to $200,000 to build, and you're right. I built a couple cars. I know people that build cars. Dave Flying Hawaiian down in San Diego did all those
Yep.
beautiful, RSR tributes.
Yeah, we've had
These
him on the
cars
show.
are
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
inexpensive to build.
Yeah.
No.
Because when you build a quality car, you have to use quality parts, and they're expensive. Forget
I
the
am-
labor. Forget the tuning and all that. The parts alone on this car were probably north of 160 grand.
Yeah.
It is just pure robbery, and I just feel so bad for the seller. Here's the thing.
Unless you use Godin, because prices are lower there.
They
That's
I
where
don't
I
know if
order
they're-
my
they,
parts.
They are the correct parts. That is
Yeah,
where you
I
want to go.
I wouldn't call them less
Look,
expensive, but yeah,
The
but
person
they're
to
done
drink
to a high
to,
standard.
the person to drink to, the person that somebody's popping a cork of champagne. If I was paying close attention, I mean, like, dude, I would have bought. Like, I think everyone on this panel. Wait a minute, you could have bought this for 80 grand. Are you kidding? This is a car that this spring, if the person that bought it didn't buy it because they love it, they're gonna double, maybe even triple their money this summer. This car is a goddamn showstopper. You roll this to any Porsche event and everyone's going to stop what they're doing. Yeah, it's not a real one. So what? A real one is gajillion dollars. This is one that you can, like you say, Mauricio, go take pictures in the mud and God, I wish if I had any inkling that this thing was going to fail so spectacularly, I definitely would have been like pounding on Rami's door going, you have to buy this thing right now.
That car is a YouTuber's wet dream.
Oh God.
Think about all the stuff that you could do with that car.
Yeah.
It's a great car.
Yeah.
You know?
And all of us have spent more money on far lesser cars. In our garage right now, we have cars that we have spent more money on this and are nowhere near the caliber of cool factor. So anyways, all right, enough about this tragic sob story. What do you guys think of the results of this 959 tribute? Was this stolen? Does this mark the end of the collector car market, or is this just some weird anomaly and it's just February and it's the Super Bowl and the weather's crappy and there's mudslides in Malibu, and I mean, this is a perfect car for an apocalypse, right? I mean, this is a great bug out car in style. Let us know what you think in the comments below, and let's move on to the other car. We made a see, I'm drunk off the Don Julio.
All right, JP.
Shots, yeah.
Without further ado, Mauricio, do you remember high school? We covered on Cars and Bids a 1987 Ford Mustang GT Coupe with just 19,400 miles. This car's got a 5-speed manual transmission and is completely unmodified. Somebody resisted the urge to go and do whatever, subframe connectors and bigger wheels and, Borla exhaust. This car is bone stock. Absolutely reminds me of high school in San Francisco, Mauricio. I do have a soft spot for this era of the GT. This was when Fox bodies were really cool. Super cool car, super clean car, offered out of Rockville, Maryland. Mauricio, our car, again, has just 19,000 miles and it's totally stock. I said $18,000, and JP took the over at $18,500. Mauricio, where are you at on this low mileage stock GT?
I don't know these cars very well, but I will tell you that a car from that era that is that original is probably more rare than a lot of the Porsches that we all,
totally
lost over.
Yeah,
I mean,
nobody put these cars away.
Car. Yeah, nobody put them away, and a lot of those cars ended up, in our hands when we were kids, after maybe a little bit older, but they ended up in, the sons and daughters' hands, and they drove them around, and then they passed them down, and so on and so on. So I don't know. I would say if you guys are at that, I'm going to go high. I'm probably going to say 23.
23. All right. So without further ado,
it's so rare. I mean,
So our car got 21 bids, and the hammer fell at $18,500, which means I missed a Yahtzee by $500. Isn't that a bummer, JP?
Yeah.
Oh, wait. JP got a Yahtzee. Congratulations, JP. Our car failed to sell at that price, though. That's where the bidding stopped. It failed to sell. So, Mauricio, I think your guess is in line with the seller's expectations, but that's not what happened here.
Wait, what?
Mauricio
Buddha,
and JP,
what the hell? Nice job, Anthony. I'm the one that got the Yahtzee live on the show. I know Anthony's a sponsor, so I got to share the Yahtzee with him, but we both know what time it is.
My question to you is, do you think that the money that the seller was looking for is in play on a different platform, or was this car on Cars and Bids brought to the right platform? Mauricio, your thoughts? Platform results with the no sale?
I would agree with you. I think that car could have been better sold to a direct audience, maybe not through an auction. A general auction.
So JP, now we know why Zach Miller wouldn't come on the show tonight.
Is that it?
Yeah. No, I do. I think there's certain cars that are great for auctions, and then there's certain cars that I think there's somebody that knows how special that car is. Yeah. And that's typically within the community of that car, right?
Right.
And certain cars get lost in today's auction platform, right?
Yeah.
And I think that car probably, I bet you there's a buyer out there who would have bought that car for, over
in
$20,000.
Maryland, within 30 miles of Rockville. Wade, who we haven't seen on the show for a while, used to say that all the time. In the dead of winter, JP, when you and I are covering a convertible in Florida, Wade says that car is going to stay in Florida. That car should stay in Florida and should just be sold regionally. So Mauricio, I agree with your point, because Wade has brought that point up on previous cars, and I do think it bears out. That's a great take. JP, what do you think about the platform versus the result?
Yeah, I mean, look, when it comes to Mustangs, every other generation of Mustang is universally loved, but the Fox body is only loved by Gen Xers, and that's it. And I happen to be a Gen Xer, and look,
Redwood.
I guarantee you, every other generation of Mustang, there are thousands of them hidden away in some garage, whether it's the next generation after it or the one just before it. There are tons of them still hiding that some old guy is wiping down with a diaper, waiting to die, and for his Gen Z kid to inherit, or grandkid or whatever, and put it on Bring Your Trailer or Cars and Bits. There's just and they're all going to be on the same place with Prowlers, and I'm sure Haggerty Marketplace will say it's the next biggest thing. But look, I'm just happy that we still have Godden Porsche as our sponsor, because our good friend Gary, the dealer principal at Godden Porsche, they also have a Ford dealership. Obviously, two Ford dealerships. That's where the family started. They celebrated 100 years of being in business a couple of years ago.
That would have been a great car for them to buy.
Well, except that Gary, I don't know how I still.
I have a story.
Well, yeah.
I have a story.
Hold on. I'm sitting in the room, and Gary walks in, and somehow a Fox body Mustang came. I'm like, yeah, man, I really want that car. He's like, a Fox body Mustang. He's like looking at me like I'm crazy. I'm like, yeah, that's the only Mustang I would take. He's like, that's the only one I hate. And I was like, uh-oh. But
so I bought Mauricio.
So we love you. Thanks, Gary.
Mauricio, when I was working at Godden Porsche, I bought a super low mileage, like a 7,000 mile 86 Mustang SVO in black with gray leather from Avant Garde before they were 911R on BAT. Mm-hmm. And we bought that car, or maybe we bought it off one of the auctions. I can't remember when I bought it or how I bought it, but I think I talked to Chris up there and bought that car for Gary to put in his collection. So he's got that car, which I think qualifies, right? That's a Fox body, JP.
Yeah, but he doesn't like it, and he only got it begrudgingly because he has other ones. Anyways, and he has to have all of them. So he's like, there's a gap if I don't get a god dang stupid Fox body in there. All right, well, we love Godden Porsche, so let's we're gonna come back right after a word from Godden Porsche and have some new predictions right after this. Hey guys, I gotta tell you about our friends Godden Porsche of Las Vegas and Godden Classic. If you're looking for a new Porsche or a classic, you gotta call our friend Steve at Godden, this guy. Save yourself the hassle of screwing around with all the auctions like we always talk about, and just talk to Steve. He'll find you the classic Porsche you're looking for. Godden Porsche of Las Vegas.
If you don't subscribe to Bid Nerds on YouTube right now, I'm gonna shoot this 997. If you said, wait, that's a 996, you're a nerd. So subscribe to the new YouTube channel, Bid Nerds.
Get those nerds!
Hey guys, you're probably looking at your watch and wondering if Bid Nerds will ever end. So you better talk to our friends at Our Smiths to make sure your Rolex, Tag Heuer, AP, or any fine timepiece is in tip-top shape. Our Smiths, fine Swiss repair. Mauricio, is your fine Swiss watch in fine Swiss repair?
Oh, absolutely. But I know where to
Tip-top.
take it when it's not.
Then you know what time it is. It's time for predictions. All right, we got some badass cars, and it's going to be interesting to see if the rest of the week is as dark as the beginning of the week was.
So quick question though on your commercial there. How do we know it's not a backdated 997?
For the Bid Nerds commercial, was that a 997 at all?
Well, maybe it's a backdated 997 to look like a 996.
Have you
That's all
ever
in
seen
right now.
anyone do that?
Could be a first,
If it was going to be
mean-
done anywhere, Mauricio, it would be done in Vegas, right?
right? Absolutely.
I have seen like 993s forward dated to 996s, which is pretty dang awful. But yeah, no, I have yet to see a backdated 997, but it would not surprise me. Someone call RWB. All right, what's the first car we have on the list, Michael Deeb?
All right, JP, our good friend Yuri Sinakis, who will be coming home from the Philippines.
Yeah.
I think he gets home this weekend, and I'm hoping he's not jet lagged and decides to come to my Super Bowl party because I think the 49ers are going to win, which would be really fun. But me and Yuri's good friend Rafi is selling a 1992 Alfa Romeo Spider Veloce with a 5-speed manual transmission. The car is located at the shop, the pit stop in Brisbane, California, and is showing 15,000 miles. 15-inch, 12-hole alloy wheels. This was the last generation of the car. JP, you and I talk about cars from the early 90s as getting the 964 treatment, as a lot of them issued the sort of exterior impact bumpers and went to molded plastics that were on internal shock absorbers. And a lot of the cars in the early 90s got these beautiful makeovers. The Alfa Romeo Spider is one of them. This is arguably one of the prettier designs of the Alfa Romeo lineage that can trace, I think, all the way back to 1966 when the first Duettos that were nicknamed boat tails first graced the market with just a 1600cc motor. This car is Arctic white and has the black leather and suede upholstery. It's got a 2-liter inline 4 with a 5-speed manual and a limited slip differential. It actually sounds pretty sophisticated, but these cars are largely underpowered because in America, even with the fuel injection, they only made about 110, 120 horsepower. Still, it's a achingly pretty car to look at. It's a car that you look at it and you're like, man, I'd still love to drive this thing. Sort of like the Miata for Europe before the Miata was a thing for the rest of the world. Really cool car. If you take good care of this car and park it indoors, these cars can be largely reliable. It's the older ones when Alfa was trying to figure out how to deal with cheap steel and smog equipment in the United States that they were very problematic. But I think these cars are, I wouldn't call them bulletproof, but they're not problematic as the cars we think about from the 70s that just had a lot of issues and no solutions to deal with them. The car, I think, is photographed well inside the shop. There's a nice video of them driving in and around Brisbane, which is just south of San Francisco. And, of course, Yuri wanted us to cover it, and we all hope that Rafi does well with the car. Somebody who gets this is going to be very happy when it arrives. Rafi is a fantastic mechanic and tuner, and I can assure you that when this car arrives, it's going to be the best of the best. JP, I know there was a time I think you and Rochelle owned a white Alfa Spider, not this generation, but I'm sure when you look at this car, it brings a smile to your face. What do you think of this car? And then we'll get around to what you think one of these last generations with low miles could bring. Because Alphas have gone up. You and I have seen a couple bring some good money, surprising money.
Man, this car, you said achingly beautiful, and it really is. It's such a nostalgia play for me because, her and I, our first dates were in white 86. So same interior, just didn't have the ground effects kit that the later models did. But this car brings me right back there. And I remember seeing this car at the pit stop when we came out to the First Cars and Cafe there in San Francisco, and I am actively looking for one and seeing this car. Unfortunately, it's just, the crazy thing about these, and we'll get to the numbers in a minute. Yes, we have seen them kind of appreciate, but not that much, not as much as so many other cars have. And these still really don't bring a whole heck of a lot of money. But then again, that you very rarely see them in nice condition because most of them have just deteriorated to hell and have not been, taken care of well. So it's hard to find a nice one. So it's hard to get good comps. But this is the color I want. This is the version I want. I would love to buy this for my wife. And we would find a parking spot. And this would be the perfect little Vegas drive around. What do you think of this thing, Mauricio?
I think it's beautiful. I mean, it's absolutely gorgeous. You know, it's such a classic Italian. I don't want to call it design. It's just like a mood. You know.
Yeah, it's a vibe,
Mauricio-
right?
There's something
Mauricio,
so
you're
wonderful about these cars. You know,
You're such a car guy. Have you ever owned an Alfa?
You know, I have not, but I've driven them. They always say that classic Porsche guys typically have an Alfa Romeo, right? And classic Alfa guys typically have a Porsche. It's very common. But I've got a couple friends up here that have them, and I've always thought they're just stunningly beautiful cars. They're, for Italian cars, are pretty reliable, right? And I think these cars in particular have always sort of maintained that ethos of a beautiful two-door convertible, you know, constantly open top, take a drive down the coast Italian cars, and I love them, you know. And you know, shout out to the pit stop because they do fantastic work. They're great cars. I mean, I don't know what else to say about them. I think they're completely underrated, and I'm glad that they're sort of having this sort of resurgence lately. I know that a lot of guys are looking at that Giulias and so on, but these cars are just, they're timeless, and they're probably the last of the true two-door, somewhat affordable Italian open-top cars.
Yeah, that
I'd pay good
affordability
money
winds
for
up.
it.
Yeah, winds up being a thing. I think JP, you and I have talked. There's a handful of cars that we've covered, you know, because we cover a lot of the same cars, you know, inadvertently. But there's a few cars we say can be a good entrance into sort of the sports car, secondary car way to go. And I think a younger version of the Alfa, one that's not with all the problematic stuff of the early 70s, but made from like a little bit better materials and a little bit more finely tuned, could be a good entrance into the genre. And I think this car could certainly qualify with that. So JP, with 2 days left to go before the bidding stops, when the auction closes, our car is currently sitting at $15,000 and interesting, only on 3 bids. You know, we see Porsches double in price a lot of times just on the last day alone. I do think this car has a chance because, again, you said it yourself, JP, almost in a backhanded way, that there's not a lot of quality comps for a car of this stature. So it's hard to gauge what the true retail value would be. But I would not be surprised at all if this car makes $30,000. And I think it would sell at that number. So I'll give you 30 grand and send it to you, JP, before we give it to Mauricio. You over or under 30 grand as the watermark?
Yeah, I mean, 30 is pretty damn high for one of these. I mean, but this one does have low miles. It is in the right color combo, and it does have the pit stop name attached to it. And I think this is the kind of car that, regardless of the platform, Rafi's reputation alone, people will buy anything that he touched for good reason.
Right.
So they know they're not getting just an Alfa Spider. They're getting probably the best Alfa Spider that there is. But does that mean someone will pay more money than anyone has ever paid for an Alfa Spider? At the peak of the market, we've seen these things struggle to make 30 with super low miles, and now we're in the middle of the winter. There's all kinds of crazy bad weather going on and bad news and all kinds of, you know, sky is falling type stuff. You know, people making thumbnails for their videos saying that the price is a total meltdown, putting nuclear explosions in their thumbnails. I don't know who did that. But you know, I want to believe. I'm gonna go high. You said what? 29 what?
I said 30.
Oh, you said 30. I don't think it's going to make 30. I don't think it's the right time of year. I think Rafi should have waited another month or two. I'm surprised that he chose February to sell this car. I think waiting a few months.
It's because he didn't ask us. He just did it on his own. But if he asked us, we would have told him to sell that car.
I think he's leaving
April.
$5 grand on the table. I think it's going to make 25,000. Yeah, 25,000. That's my number. What do you think, Mauricio?
Well, I was thinking about something about this car. This is a mistress car, right? So you have the wife car, which is like your really nice, you know, beautiful car, you love it, you know, JP, it's your 964 or whatever, right? And this is the car that actually you love to spend more time with because there's just something magical about it, right?
Yeah.
So you have your beautiful restored or, you know, hot rod, whatever you want to call it. But this is the car that you crave driving. And I agree with you that this car should be probably in the mid to high 30s. But what did you say, JP? You said 29?
I said,
said
25.
25.
I went 5 under.
25?
Yeah.
I think this car's probably going to be close to 28. 28 too.
Yeah.
There you go. But I mean, this is the car that somebody's going to buy this car, and out of everything that they have in their collection, this is going to be one of their favorite cars because they're just so much fun, and it's an experience when you drive these cars, right? It's like why you have a convertible versus a coupe. There's something unique about that.
This is absolutely the kind of car that is all about being a dog person, you know, sticking your head out the window and smelling the flowers and the breeze and just enjoying everything other than the performance of the car. Because let's face it, this thing is not a barn burner. I mean, it's just, it's just all about enjoying being in the moment and being with your best girl. So I would like to buy this car. I just don't think I would. I don't think, you know. So yeah, I'll be watching this auction. Someone buy my 997 and then maybe I'll pick this thing up. But
I didn't even know you had a 997.
yeah, well, we can talk. All right, what do you guys think this little Alpha will bring? Let us know in the comments below, and let's get to the next car. Another drop top in the middle of winter time. Michael Deeb, what did you pick for us?
So JP, you and I and Mauricio, I'm sure you know him as well. Rod Emory is a very special person to all of us, Porsche and car enthusiasts alike. He is the grandson of the gentleman who is credited with inventing the Outlaw in Southern California. His father is credited with being another hot rod legend who is considered the founding father of the Baja Bug. And Rod Emory followed in his father and grandfather's lineage. He raced for a while and then got back to fabricating and building special outlaws cars with his wife and children and family, and has a great shop in Southern California. This is a 1958 Porsche 935, Porsche 356 that started life as a coupe. Later in its life, somebody chopped the roof off of it to make a Speedster. And then in 2021, JP, Emory bought the car and subsequently began building an Emory Special Speedster out of it. The car was delivered in November of 2023, 2 to maybe 2.5 years later, with 700 miles on the odometer. But the car, from a chassis standpoint, is going to be listed as true mileage unknown. So just a quick couple of things. It's got one of those incredible 2.6-liter Roth Sport Emory Outlaw flat fours that is essentially built on 964 architecture. That normally aspirated flat four makes 260 horsepower with electronic fuel injection and individual throttle bodies and a twin spark ignition. I mean, really cool. Dry sump lubrication. The car has beautiful, they call it cognac interior. Ferrari calls that Coyo, blue metallic paint. And there are just stunning, gorgeous hot rod details throughout. Like this car looks like a piece of jewelry, but it also begs you to get in it and drive the absolute snot out of it. And this is a car that has performance to match its looks. Like that car actually goes as fast as it looks like it will. This is not your grandfather's 356. But JP, here's the rub. We know that Emory has a waiting list around the block. You know, it could be as much as 2 years before he could even begin to work on your car if you were fortunate enough to get in line and fortunate enough to be able to afford to get one of these. And then it would take Emory another 2 to 3 years to complete your car once it's done. So if you won the lottery tonight and drove down to LA tomorrow and shook Rod Emory's hands, it could be 4 to 5 years at the earliest before you would receive your car. This guy got his car in November of 2023 and is now auctioning it off to the highest bidder 2 months later. Would that not burn you as a customer? Like, wouldn't that just, Ferrari has this thing where if they sell you a car, you got to hold on to it for a couple of years. If you don't, they expect you to sell it back to them. And in some Ferrari dealers will contractually bind you to do that. Porsche started to do that, I think, with the 918 Spiders, taking a page right out of Ferrari's book. I don't know that Emory would enforce something like that, but I would think that if you were fortunate enough to get an Emory car and then 2 months later you just look to profit from him, I would wonder if Emory would ever want to see your face again, because you're going to make more money on it than he made off of you. That's almost a given. So, JP, I know we want to talk about the car and what we think it might be worth, but I am shocked to see that this car was delivered in November and it is for sale on BAT with 2 days to go in early February. I think that is that's just what do they call it? Uncouth, like you don't do shit like that. That's not how, like our community is a small community. You know what I mean? Like you just don't do that to people. So what do you think? Am I making a mountain out of a molehill here?
I don't disagree with you, but I don't think we know we probably just don't know the full story. I mean, this is the kind of thing that when you make a financial decision like this and 2 years later, or 3 years later, I mean, like you put a deposit on a Singer, and then 5 years later you get a car or a Gunther Works or something like that. Things change in years. And a lot has happened the last couple of years. And maybe this guy has been just like, man, I've got so much money in this stupid thing. The second I get it, I'm getting it out of it, because this just kind of screams to me like the person that made the decision, his life changed, and he just, because why would he sell it right now? I mean, just like the Alfa we just talked about, why would anyone sell, one of the most beautiful, convertibles in the world in February, the worst time of this year? And it just makes no sense if you don't need the money. This says to me that the person needs the money. And so I, normally I'm a jerk and would harshly judge someone, but I'm going to reserve that until we know more. Maybe on the next episode when we reconcile our bids and we know a little bit more about the situation. If this is just a straight flip, then he's not getting invited to the camp out, and that sucks.
Yeah, right.
Mauricio, what do you think?
Yeah,
well, I mean, or he's got another Emory car that he's building.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
That's possible. Yep.
I mean, that's the other thing, right? Is, you wait a couple years and, Emory's got some new stuff that's coming out. I mean, that's happened with Singer, right? The DLS.
Yeah, but is Emory giving you one of those if you're just flipping the car that he just delivered? I don't think so. I think you're right. I think Deeb's right. Unless this guy is in a situation where, God forbid something bad happened to him, there's no excuse to just flip the car right after you get it and expect to get another one. I think there's a lot of people online that are going to be like, hey, wait a minute, what the hell? That guy, what the hell? Why are you letting that guy do that?
No, but my point is, who's to say that maybe he's got 2 or 3 cars that are currently being built, right? And, you got to unload one because you're going to keep the other ones. I mean, I hear what you're saying, and I think that's legitimate. But I think at the same time, the talented builders out there have a lot of repeat customers, right?
Totally.
Right? A lot of repeat customers. So I wouldn't be surprised if, this seller may have 1 or 2 more cars that are currently being built, and he may even have another car in his garage. That's not to say that, you're right. It could also be that he built it and something happened and he's selling it and he wants something else. I mean, that happens too. But I don't think you should rule out, the alternative.
There is the possibility that he has discussed this with Rod. That is absolutely a possibility. But if he didn't, right? And okay, fine, you got 2 more cars in the queue, and you just delivered 1 car to this guy. If I'm Rod, I'm like, oh, well, your other 2 cars are getting back of the line. I'll get to them when I feel like it. Oh, and I'm keeping your deposit. Because you're flipping this one. Get out of here, jerk. But
I would
who knows?
I would still think if you're talking to Rod and you decide you want off this car because you're going to upgrade to one of those RSR coupes or whatever, Rod would say, well, bring the car back because I've got a queue around the block and somebody who's waiting in line to get a build will just jump on this car. And then that'll free up an allocation on a chassis I've got up in the air here for the next customer.
We
you know,
brought
it's
up
interesting.
Gary earlier, from God and
Yeah.
Porsche, and he's a stand-up guy. He has what, 2 or 3 of the Emory cars?
2. He built 2 at the same time.
At the same time, right? And there's no way in hell you would do something like that. No way in hell. That's not a cool thing to do. It would be a conversation where, I'm going to wait for the next car. Go ahead, let's give this one to the next person or something like that, and let's work something out. But just here it is, go sell it. That doesn't make any sense at all.
I would be curious. So I mean, you've got a good point there. I would be curious how many folks out there purchase, Rod Emory cars, Singer cars, Gunther cars, only to flip them down the road.
Yeah.
Because you're certainly not going to lose money. And in part
No.
it's because, the demand is so high and, the waiting, forget about the fact that, one thing is to get on the queue and then the other thing is to actually have the car built, right? Yeah. So you are anywhere from 3 to maybe 5.5 years before you put a deposit and then you're behind the driver's seat. Yeah. And that has
so many of them just sit there.
that has a lot of value to it.
So what do we think this thing's going to bring? We
JP,
can talk
let's
a
talk-
little bit. Huh? Go ahead.
Let's talk about the driving experience just for a second. Everything I thought I knew about these cars, as far as like those normally aspirated Rothsport built 2.6s that make almost, basically 100 horsepower per liter, coilover suspension. These cars actually drive like a modern car. The one thing I didn't realize, JP, maybe you knew this, but I didn't. Did you know that these things are utilizing 901 gearboxes? These are the dog legs. That's awesome. I had no idea. Can you imagine driving a short throw 901 with 260 horsepower? That's got to be fun. That's freaking rad. I
still haven't driven one. I've sat in a bunch of them. I got to ride in one of them, but I still haven't driven one. And I'm dying to get behind the wheel. I think I will get a turn one of these days here. But
They're
so
fantastic.
Remember when Rod left his? Man, I should have taken him up on it. He left his original special, like his personal car that he made for him and Amy.
Wow.
He left it in my studio after SEMA for like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And I'm like, with the keys, it's just sitting in my studio. He's like, yeah, take it for a spin. Go ahead. I'm like, no. And he's like, no, really, go. And I'm like, no, I'm not going to do it. Now I'm sitting there going, God, I should have done that. But I can't imagine how nervous I would have been with Rod Emory's original special. But I've got pictures of me sitting in it, and I think on my Facebook page. But what a cool car. All right, what do we think this thing's going to bring? Because, we talk about all these bespoke cars all the time. We see incredible builds all the time, and how many times we've said, "Oh, it's a lot like a Singer, maybe not all the way there, but hey, you can get it for like a flying Hawaiian car. Oh, it's like a Singer, but a third of the price. It's maybe not all the way there, but da-da-da-da." Now this is the real deal.
Yeah.
This
really is.
Every last nut and bolt and pin and everything is bespoke to the most bespokeness. Your peak bespoke here. How much will this crazy car bring? You can't get one. What will someone pay for one?
JP, this 1958 Porsche 356 Emory Special Speedster is currently sitting at $502,000 on just 8 bids with 2 days left to close. Our car is listed for sale on BAT out of Plantation, Florida. I'm going to go, JP, $888,000 even, and I think it will sell at that price. But I did see an Emory, I think a little bit higher spec Emory bring, I think, $1 million at auction just in the last couple of weeks. So it wouldn't be surprised if we go higher than my number, or that if it does even go to my number but fails to sell at that, because there are other Emory comps that have brought even more than this. But I'm going to give you $888,000 for this one. Where are you at, John?
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, look, I would rather have this car than that the 993 Turbo S with the crooked odometer. I don't care if it's not worth as much as the 964. Sorry, my bad. That we talked about at the beginning of the show. This car is
997 owners. Jesus.
I already have a 964. Why would I need another one? Even though it's a turbo and it's got a big hole in the side of the fender. No, look, this car is just yeah, I could gush on all night about this one. I'll go, but I'm going to park it under you, Deeb, not because I don't think it's worth more. I do think this is darn near $1 million car. I just think it's the wrong time of year. I think people are spooked right now. I think there's way too much going on. This just happens to be a bad week to be doing it. So I'm going to park it under you and go $800,356 and hand it over to Mauricio. What do you think?
My posse.
So it's a special car, and on top of that, it's an even more special car, right? Because arguably he does mostly coupes.
Right.
He doesn't do a lot of convertibles, right? And some people might think that the demand is higher for coupes, but it's all about exclusivity when you're in this arena. I think it's going to hit north of I'd say 918,000.
Do you think it sells at that number? Or do you think it? Do you think
I think it will. I think this car. I mean, between waiting in line, between the fact that it's a convertible, between the fact that it's just he builds beautiful cars. He doesn't build cars that aren't simpatico as far as the look, the stance, the interior, exterior colors. The cars are just very well thought out, and it's a beautiful, beautiful car. I think it'll fetch high. I think somebody will pay very big money. And the fact that it's this high with 2 days, I'd be curious to see how large the increases in the bids have been. Because all it takes is two people, and I think this car is very special. And you're looking at probably 5 years minimum to get one of his cars.
Unless you want to pay.
Yeah.
Unless you want to pay.
Yeah.
Because they do come up. I mean, we see one come up every couple of months. But
no, but if you want your car, if you want to go in there and say, this is my vision.
yeah, for sure. Yeah. Totally understood.
And somebody out there shares this vision.
All right, Mauricio, you should buy it. Sounds like you're getting one.
Right now.
What do you guys think this Emory Special will bring? Let us know in the comments below. We're running a little long, so let's get to the last car of the night.
JP,
we're going to our favorite platform. Holy cow!
PCAR Market. JP, I picked this truck for you. It is a 1999 Toyota Tacoma with a 5-speed manual transmission, showing just 30,000 miles with New York plates. The car is out of Huntington, New York. Again, 30,000 miles, 5-speed manual. Let's see. I can't confirm if this is a 4-wheel drive. I guess it's not then, huh? Did I pick a 2-wheel drive truck? What a waste of space. Now that I'm taking a deep dive. 2.4 liter, normally aspirated, double overhead cam, the 2RZ FE inline 4, 142 horsepower, 160 pound-foot of torque, 5-speed manual, independent front suspension, front disc brakes. I mean, the choice of terrorists the world over. JP, my first question, because it's obviously not a 4-wheel drive, so it's probably not going to bring the kind of money I thought it might with the low miles. But those wheels are Grand Auto Specials, right? Those did not come from Toyota.
They did not come from Toyota, nor did the dent down the whole side of the passenger side of the truck. This thing is just.
But anyway,
this is
or the cool little add-on
mirrors
right
there. Yeah, those are pretty sick. Yeah.
Yeah.
Slick car, super.
My question
nice.
to you is,
Good pick there,
despite the condition of the car, I saw 30,000 miles and they only photographed the good side of the truck. This truck is just on the wrong platform. Like, why wouldn't this car be on? Yeah, it is a manual. Why isn't this car on Cars and Bids? So, JP, what's the like about this thing? And, assuming you can take it to the body shop and get Earl Shive to respray that side for you.
I mean, nothing really. This is just a used car. The Tacomas aren't. Look, I appreciate. I know why you picked this for me because, the Toyota SR5 that my father had, and I have I do love old Toyotas, but this is the wrong generation. This is too late. The Tacomas are not cool. They're just. the previous generations, the what is it, the 89 to I think it's 94, and then of course all of the 80s ones and stuff like that. Those are the super cool ones. Once they went, this is just like everything this is like the same guy that designed this interior probably designed the 996 interior. I mean, it's just like the dopiest looking lines, the blobby. This is everything bad about 90s sensibilities. I mean, the steering wheel looks like it's melting. Everything looks like a suppository. I mean, it's just like
the flaky steering wheel.
Yeah, I mean, come on. And then the dent down the side of the door. I mean, this thing belongs on Facebook Marketplace or Craigslist or something like that. This is a great truck. This is something that if somebody wanted cheap, reliable transportation and they never wanted to buy a car again in their life and they were like 20, this is a car you could have this car forever and ever and ever and ever, and it'll never fail. And yes, you could ultimately sell it to ISIS, and they can put it, but it's not a 4x4, so ISIS does like the all-wheel drive and stuff like that.
But it's got the wheels and it's been lowered, and that's
it's just not. It's just a hunk of junk. I mean, it's not a hunk of junk because it's a good truck. It's a good work truck. This is the truck that shows up to your house and they trim your trees or whatever. I mean, this is clean the pool, whatever. And and I'm not being disparaging to folks that do work like that. If they're smart, this is the truck that they have. Because look, if you've got this is the perfect vehicle for your small little business. If you're gonna do something like, if you're gonna be a plumber or you're gonna go to people's houses and be a handyman, you don't want to be spending money on your stupid vehicle. You want to be spending money on tools and better, and you'll never have to worry about your truck and whether or not you'll get to a client on time. And this thing's heirloom. You could pass it down. This is a great first car for someone. One thing that is good about this generation of the trucks is it does have an airbag, and then this one's on the East Coast, so it's got a bunch of rust on it, which won't harm it really. I mean, it'll still run forever even if it's totally rusted out, but you still don't want a rusty truck.
That car will outlive all of us combined.
Yeah. It's true. Cockroaches, Twinkies, and old Toyota trucks.
All about
that's what makes it through it's totally true. All right, what do we think this thing's going to bring?
Well, JPR car is closing tomorrow. It's at $4,000 on just 6 bids. Is this a $7,500 truck? That's what I'm going to say. And I don't know much about them, obviously. I just thought it was funny to see a Toyota pickup truck on PCAR Market. But it wasn't even one of the collectible ones. I just assumed it would be if it was on there. And that's what I get for assuming anything would be correct about PCAR Market. So, dents and 2-wheel drive and lowered suspension. Where are you at, JP? You think it'll make 7,000?
No, I mean, not here. No. I mean, it's going to go in the deal. The problem is it's got the dent. I mean, if it didn't have the dent, this would be a $10,000 to $15,000 truck. But I mean, it needs $5,000 to $7,000 in bodywork. That's the thing about bodywork. It doesn't matter if it's a Porsche or a Toyota or a Hyundai. I mean, bodywork is mostly when it comes to bodywork and paint, you're talking about labor. And so the labor rate is the same. Doesn't matter what metal they're working on.
You try blending that metallic paint.
Yeah, so it just does not pencil out to fix this thing. This truck is going to be a work truck or a farm truck or something to have on the out in the ranch or something like that. It'd be great to have in the barn, and you use it every now and then or whatever, and you just don't care what it looks like. But to try to make this a pristine 30,000 mile collector Toyota pickup truck, this is ridiculous. This is not going to happen. The 2-wheel drive ones with the silly wheels. I mean, it'd be easy to change the wheels out to find some original ones, but yeah. So what was your number, Deeb? I'm sorry.
I went 7,500. Where are you at?
Yeah, I'm gonna go 6,000, and it fail to sell, and it goes in the chum bucket. What do you think, Mauricio?
Mauricio?
I think I probably would have put this on Bring a Trailer instead of Pickup Market.
Well, I mean,
I think
who would put anything on PCAR Market? Honestly, yeah.
I think it would have had a better shot on Bring a Trailer than PCAR Market. I'll be honest. But yeah, I agree with you. It's a Craigslist car. I mean, somebody out there will want it. And somebody's like, holy shit, I've been looking at one of these, replacing my 347,000 mile one. And it's just like this, right?
Yeah.
I think it's going to go for $4,826.
You know, here's
You
the
get a
thing.
Yahtzee on that one.
Even.
We talk about would it be better off if it were on a Cars and Bids or PCAR Market or Bring a Trailer. I don't think any of the other platforms would have taken it, but nobody's taken a car with body damage unless it's
I
a
think-
project. The B&T
think
would
they
not
didn't-
accept this car. No way.
No,
I'm
they
willing to
wouldn't. No
bet
way.
you that they didn't take it because there's a reserve on it. And I bet you the reserve is probably too ambitious.
I don't think BAT would take it at no reserve. They're not going to
Really?
represent a car with body damage. Unless it's listed as a project. That's what this thing would have to be listed at. You know, project car. Okay, it runs and drives, has low miles, but it has body damage. There's no way they're going to, because look, you know, granted, we do no homework. We're stupid. We're not very smart. We didn't do a whole lot of research. My partner just glanced at it, thought, yeah, 30,000 mile truck. Okay, this is going to be pretty cool. And he missed the fact that it had body damage down the side of it. I could see like doing the same thing, honestly, and going, oh, hey, this is a really nice truck. And sitting there and wasting a bunch of time. And then, oh, what the hell? It's got body damage? How is that not listed in the header of the damn listing? I mean, this is,
Yeah, but
this
you
is
know,
not.
if it was an extended bed, maybe $6,000.
I don't. Actually, the short beds are.
JP, scroll to the end of the photo bucket, and the last like 10 photos are paint meter readings. Like it's just.
Are you serious?
I swear to God, it's. It's just PCAR Market is amazing.
They're just the dumbest.
It's just amazing.
You know, but again, somebody out there is looking at this thing going, I love it, right?
Yep. Oh yeah.
I mean, that's the thing, and you can't discount that. I mean, you really can't.
There is an advantage that it has body damage because it is a perfect work truck. I mean, if you want a work truck, you don't want to
It's
spend a
little
lot of
too
money on
perfect
it.
for a work truck because it only has little body damage.
Just a little body damage. It's going to get more
Just a
body
little
damage,
bit.
but this is okay. But that's the thing is that means it's not $20,000, right? You can go buy this thing for under 10 and not care about the body damage. You know, Chris Carbrine's like, oh, Craigslist people don't know how to drive 3 pedals. That is not true when it comes to work trucks. Those guys that are coming into this country, they know how to
And
drive
you know
a
what?
3-pedal car better than Americans do. Thank you very much.
Young generation out there that's all into 3 pedals. I'm just going to put that out
The
there.
guys that are buying this for a work truck know how to drive 3 pedals. They're not.
Yeah,
soy
it's
boys.
more agriculture or outside the house than work that's done inside the house.
Oh boy! All right, what do you guys think this little Toyota will bring? Let us know in the comments
JP,
below.
at least
Deeb
it
has
wasn't
to
a
get his
Holocaust
line in
joke.
before I put my slogan in, so
Yeah,
I
it
can
wasn't
make a
a
nice clean
Holocaust
cut
joke.
later. Yeah, I was gonna try to get a Holocaust joke in there. Jesus Christ, Deeb. How long have we been doing this show? Let me say the stupid line so you guys are just killing me on the editing later. Thanks a lot, making more work for me. Love you guys. All right, that was fun. What do you think, Mauricio? 3-pedal Posse right there, pickup truck. What do you think? You coming back? You gonna do another one of these?
Absolutely.
How can people find out more about 3-pedal Posse?
The best place is on IG, 3-pedal Posse on Instagram. The website's
gram.
actually coming soon. So we've
building
been
a
hard
website.
at work
Look
on
at
the
you.
website. We got
job.
Look at the-
look
look
at
at-
that.
Look at the three pedal swag. Mauricio's got
Damn.
taste. You can't buy taste. You either have it or you
Boom.
don't.
I got 'em
Look
sitting
at
right
this
there.
stuff.
Do you or don't.
This-
So
This stuff.
yeah.
I mean, come on, man. Just it doesn't quit. Pick a color.
Wow.
What's your favorite
you guys
color?
Have more, you guys have more
stock than you do.
Inventory than I do.
Yeah, right.
So,
Yeah.
I love it.
Mauricio, I
Thank
got
you.
these in Monterey. I know
I'll
a guy.
trade
if
you
you
for
need
some
something,
Durr
okay?
stickers.
Yeah.
Yeah, that reminds me, guys. Merch is available on the Etsy page on guyscustoms.etsy.com. That's gyxcustoms.etsy.com. You can get your custom Bid Nerds Nerd Herd t-shirts. They're limited edition available now. Rochelle is standing by to make your personally labeled shirt or hat or both. And of course, guys, custom bracelets are available. What's up, Mauricio?
Coming from the guy that's just wearing a plain black T-shirt.
I've
Boom.
got the dirt.
Just saying,
man.
JP.
You've
I
been
was
called out.
I was looking for my 3-pedal shirt here, but I think
the
mine
mail.
you
wore
have
out.
one of these, don't you?
I
These
do, but
are-
it's worn out,
these
man.
are-
I
know.
wore the
So
hell
is
out
this
of it.
one. Yeah.
Do you have a guy's custom bracelet, Mauricio? We need to get you a guy's custom bracelet when we.
Well, no, I don't. I've
we
been
learn-
missing. I got some good Dare stickers. I got them. Isabella has them on her Beetle.
Oh, sweet.
But I've got an original Dare Fascination sticker.
Ooh,
those are rare.
Originally
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
Huh?
Yes, the whole word. The whole word.
Yeah, the whole word. Before you decided to rebrand as Dur.
Well, we're still Dear Fascination, but we just shortened it for
Next thing you know, you're going to be Duh.
I've been for a long time, my man. All right, Nerd Herd, thanks for hanging out.
Mauricio, thank you.
Are looking
Thank
to
you.
sell your classic car, my friend Michael Deeb can help you out with Haggerty.
Absolutely. You can reach me, email me direct at mdeeb@haggerty.com. That's M as in Mary, D as in, Delta, Echo, Bravo, @haggerty.com. Let me know what you would like to sell, and let's discuss a strategy to help you get a retail number for your car. Thank you.
Mauricio, you've been watching, speaking of the Dir Fascination YouTube channel. We are publishing films that people have not seen before. Stuff
you know
from
what?
the
I've
from
been
the TV
watching
show.
them.
Yeah, we're
Yeah.
brand new films. They're not brand
it.
new, but they're films that were only seen on Pluto TV when Porsche Road Trip was on there. But now I am just now getting around to publishing them on YouTube. So all kinds of new content there.
I saw Kelly's film. I saw
Yeah.
Austin's film. Fantastic.
See
6 out of
Captain
5
Chaos.
stars.
Captain Chaos is on there. I just published
Captain Chaos,
Bradley
I saw
Brown
that
L's.
one.
6 out of 5 stars.
Speaking
Believe it
of
or not, I actually
912s,
pay
yeah.
attention to you.
Yeah, I appreciate that, buddies. Share those videos. Share this video. And if you're still hanging out, guys, hit the thumbs
Like it.
up button. Like it.
Yeah,
That really
like
helps us out a lot. And we love the Nerd Herd. The Nerd Nation is what makes a show worth doing. We will see you guys Sunday night. I know it is Super Bowl. I know my partner Michael Deeb will be rooting for his crappy San Francisco team, and they'll probably win. But
Go
whatever.
Sports!
Go sports ball. But we're gonna do a show. It might be a little late, but we are gonna do a show. So after the Super Bowl, come and hang out with the Bid Nerds. And, there it is. We'll see you Sunday night. Thanks, Mauricio.
Thank you,
Thank
Mauricio.
you.
Get those nerds!